right, what's up, y'all? If you are on YouTube or on the podcast right now, please consider subscribing right freaking now so you can get more of these questions and the breakdowns. I do all of this inside of my major NPTE Prep Success coaching program to help students dominate the exam. Check it out, thepthustle.com. Today, we're going to be going over CTS IB, really looking at a different way to look at this because a lot of students struggle with this concept. They struggle with how to intervene, how to treat a patient who's presenting with these different types of problems. All right. And so what I want to do is give you a type of question that you could potentially see come up on a practice exam or in the NPTE, and then talk about how to treat this question a little differently. All right. So we got a patient who underwent balance testing using the CTS-IB, showed significant instability when blindfolded on foam and when standing on foam with eyes open. Which of the following is an accurate conclusion? You look down at your answer choices here and you see sensory systems intact, somatosensory systems intact, vestibular and somatosensory systems are intact. So all these different answers, right? How many of y'all have seen this before? Put me down in the comment box right now. I just want to make sure that this has come up before on a practice exam, like you've seen this type of question, right? Okay, here's the deal. When you're looking at a question like this, you have to have that basic foundation of the CTS-IB. If you're not familiar with what the heck that is, I need you to check it out. A lot of your neuro textbooks will talk to you about it. Definitely O'Sullivan, Big Red Bible textbook. It'll talk to you about CTS-IB and what's all involved in it. Now, it's how we assess a patient's balance, but also determine what balance system is impaired. For those of you who are not familiar with balance systems, we have three major ones. We have vision. Go ahead and put that down. Vision, vestibular. All right. And what's my last one? Somatosensory. You got it. All right. So those are our major balance systems. And I use CTS-IB in order to figure out which one of these are impaired. Are all of them impaired? One of them impaired? Two of them impaired? But also which one of them are intact. That's the big thing. I really want to figure out what is intact. What is the patient using for balance so that I can make sure that I provide the right treatments in order to enhance what's intact. I want to provide treatments or modifications in the patient's home to make sure that we are utilizing those balance systems that are intact. You know, I want to make sure I don't want to do some things that are putting the patient at risk for falls, right? If a patient has vision that's intact and that's their primary way of staying balanced, the one thing I don't want to do is go into the house and take out all the lights, right? I don't want to put the patient in a situation where they're not able to use their eyes, right? Because that's what they're relying on. Well, that's a major principle that you need to understand when answering questions just like this. All right. So that was a little background on our CTS-IB. Now it says it showed significant instability when the patient is blindfolded on foam. All right. Blindfolded on foam, which let's go ahead and put that down here. Blindfolded on foam. All right. So in essence, what are we doing when we blindfold a patient and put them on foam? This is very important. Write this down in your notes. What we're doing here is we're taking out the eyes. What do I mean by that? Well, we're making it so that the patient can't use the eyes to balance. In other words, I'm not testing the eyes. I just took them away so the patient can't use it. All right. Then I put the patient on foam. What does foam do? Well, when I put you on foam, what it's doing is it's really taking away your somatosensory system, so it's not being able to use properly. I mean, we're not being able to use our somatosensory properly. Why? We're on foam. It's an unsteady or unstable surface, right? And so what have I really done? I took away vision. I took away the patient's somatosensory. And so what is the patient going to rely on now in order to balance? You should be saying, oh, the patient will rely on the vestibular system. That's all they really have left in order to stay balanced. Well, it does say in the question, significant instability, or the patient swaying a lot during this test. And so what does that mean for me? That my vestibular system must not be that good. Because if my vestibular system was good, patient would show that they were stable when they're blindfolded and on foam. Does that make sense? So what can I say for certain now after I read this statement showed significant instability when blindfolded on the foam? I know my vestibular system is having a problem, aka vestibular is impaired. So can I put that out to the side? That way we can remember that for later. Vestibular system impaired. I'm just going to put IMP. Cool. All right. Now let's go to the other part of this question. It says when standing on foam with eyes open. Okay. So let's take a look at this. So we got standing on foam. And then we got eyes open. All right. So let's talk about what is the patient having access to? What are they able to use to stay balanced in this new situation, the green situation? Well, if they're standing on foam, what does that mean? I took away their somatosensory system. They're not able to use it. So I can't be testing for somatosensory because I took it away from the patient. How about the vision? All right, is the patient able to use the vision? You should be saying yeah, because the eyes are open. So let me put a check mark for vision. All right, eyes are open. Cool. And then how about vestibular? You could say we're assessing vestibular here too, but the primary is going to be vision, right? Because we already kind of checked. We already checked the vestibular system, and we know that it's impaired. So guess what? It says that the patient has significant instability when blindfolded on the foam and when standing on the foam with eyes open. What is that telling us right now? That both vision and vestibular are a problem. So vision impaired. There you go. And you may say, well, wait. How did you figure out the vision was impaired? All I did was look at this test. They were standing on the foam, which took away the somatosensory system. That means I'm testing what? I'm testing the eyes and potentially testing the vestibular system. But again, it's not major vestibular system. It's going to be primarily the eyes getting tested in this situation. All right. And so if I'm testing the eyes and the patient's still swaying a lot, there's a lot of instability, then that must mean that the eyes are not good. The eyes are impaired and there's a problem. So bottom line, what do I know for certain? What are my conclusions? That the patient has an impaired vestibular and an impaired visual system. So let's go down to our answer choices. A, somatosensory system is intact. Well, I'm going to put a check mark next to that because that is true. For right now, I mean, for all I know, somatosensory is intact. All right. Vestibular and somatosensory systems are intact. The answer to that is no, that's incorrect. Why? Because I know vestibular system is impaired. We said that up here. All right. So let's go ahead and get rid of that one. Visual system is intact. That can't be right either, y'all, because we already said vision is impaired. Put an X next to it. D, all systems appear intact. We got to put an X next to that one because we know all the systems aren't intact. Both visual and vestibular are both impaired. So that gets you X's for B, C, and D, leaving us with our final answer, our best answer of A. And so that's how we go through solving through figuring out what exactly is intact, what is impaired. And so now what I want to do is look at this question from the standpoint of, well, how would I best treat this patient? Now that I understand that the vestibular system and visual systems are impaired and the patient's relying on somatosensory, what is one thing I don't want to do would be a contraindication, and what is one thing that I would want to do? Can we go through that real quick? So I'll pull out my eraser here real quick, get rid of some of this. And below the question, let's go ahead and put that down. Change my color. So what's one thing that would be a contraindication? I don't want to do it. And one thing I would want to do for this patient population. And I do this with my coaching students all the time. You know, let's think about what we would and would not want to do. All right. So for contraindications, what's something that we wouldn't want to do, everybody? You can put down all your contraindications below in the comment box right now. Participate. That's how we learn the best. That's how we retain it, is when we participate. One of the major contraindications that you would think is putting the patient on a carpet. Like going in the patient's house and be like, oh, you need a lot of carpet. Yeah, put carpet everywhere. Well, that wouldn't be a good thing for this patient. Why? Because it's harder for your somatosensory system to work when it's on things that are fluffy, foam, all right, on things that are unstable or unstable terrain, maybe grass or sand or something along the lines of that that's very soft. Also carpet, okay? So the patient walking on carpet, patient walking on foam, patient walking on soft sand. Obviously hard sand wouldn't be so bad, but soft sand, grass, uneven terrain. These are all different things that I would want to be very cautious about this patient being on or walking on, because I know this patient relies on somatosensory for their balance. So I don't want to do anything to take somatosensory away from the patient. Does that make sense? All right. So those are some of the contraindications or things that we will want to be very careful of. All right. Now, there's a little caveat to this. It's not necessarily to say that, you know, you wouldn't do this in the clinic per se, or put the patient on foam or whatnot. But here's the thing. If the patient is relying on the somatosensory system and the other systems are impaired and they're permanently impaired, no, I want to do everything to enhance somatosensory, not do things to take it away from the patient. All right. So that's the contraindications. What type of treatment would be good for this patient? What type of treatment would be good? And I would say it's somewhat of the opposite of what we were talking about. Maybe talking to the patient about home modifications related to taking away the carpet. All right, so I'll put home modifications and then maybe make this tile instead of the carpet. All right. Maybe another one that we want to add is potentially a cane. Do like an accommodating device to give the patient more stability. All right, could be a treatment here. So do you see, like, what we're really trying to do with our treatments is we're trying to enhance the things that the patient is relying on. Allow them to use more of their somatosensory system. Allow their somatosensory system to be more effective for that patient by switching the carpet to tile, by giving the patient a cane and giving them more stability, or a walker, or what is necessary for that patient to remain balanced. All right. So this is an example of this type of question. Again, I'm breaking it down a bit further for you. CTSIB is always a very difficult one, but we can solve through this. We can figure this out, and we can pick out what things I wouldn't want to do with the patient, but also some things that I would. All right. Questions, put those down below. Hopefully you got a lot from this. This is an opportunity for you to go out, get more CTSIB questions, balance questions, and start knocking this down. As I always say to all my students that go through my lectures and my calls, if this is clear to you, if you got a big nugget from it, put that down in the comment box right now. What is your pearl? What did you take from this? And then put clear down if this was clear concept for you. All right. Can't wait to see you all in the next one. Have a good one.